Gavin Williams gets the call. Henry Davis gets the call. Emmett Sheehan gets the call. We've got the pitcher of the year, of the month, of the week. Again, we can talk about, as well as a whole lot of other good stuff coming up here on the RotoWire podcast. Hey, everybody. Welcome to the RotoWire Fantasy Baseball Podcast. Today's podcast is brought to you on the Blue Wire Network and by the number 10. What's the number 10? Oh, it's the Reds winning streak, Fred. I might be a little happy, a little giddy right now about that. And number of stolen bases that Freddie Freeman has, which is pretty amazing as well.
I'm pretty giddy about both of those stats actually as well. More the Reds winning streak than Freddie Freeman, but I got some shares.
Yeah. Hey, I am so giddy right now. I mean, I'm conflicted a slight little bit because I was very cynical about the teardown, and I really don't want to. And Phil Castellini was interviewed before the Reds broadcast today. It was Reds charities and all that, and he was praising the team. He goes, and Nick Kroll and Patience are a fan for buying into our plan and all that. Like, I don't know. I get. I mean, maybe I'm being harsh. Maybe it's too harsh earlier when they tore the team down. But, maybe they really weren't a winning team. Maybe there's chemistry issues. Maybe that was part of the problem before and the things I don't realize. But, man, they're a fun team right now. And they do follow the maxim of teams with a good young core get there quicker than you expect. I keep saying that about Arizona, but maybe I should be saying about Cincinnati too.
I think we're starting to hit that point, 39-35. Sorry, is that 39-35? Is that going into tonight or after tonight? I just looked up their record. I'm not sure if it's been updated from tonight, but pretty sure after tonight. So there you go. Like you said, I don't know. It's hard to feel bad for Reds fans. I mean, the Reds had a record above 500 in 2020 and 2021, bottomed out last year, and are already above 500 this year. We'll see where it all ends up, but that's not much of a teardown if they bounce back this quickly.
Here's the thing. They were 2020, remember, was the strike year. I mean, the COVID year, where we only had 60 games. But they were a good team, made the playoffs. They had Trevor Bauer and didn't try to attempt to sign him beforehand. They traded away Raisel Iglesias after that season. Like, they had this taste of competing, but then the Castellinis took such a bath during the COVID year that they wanted to tear it down. And the fact is, they didn't score a run against Atlanta in that little playoff series. So, you could argue they weren't that close. I get it. But I almost feel like I'm doing some revisionist history there too. But, and the funny thing is they still have a negative run differential after winning 10 in a row and going 4 games over 500. Not as bizarre as the Marlins entering the day being 11 games over 500 and still having a negative run differential. I mean, that's really difficult to do. But we'll get to the Marlins in a second. But hey, it's fun. I go away for a week and all these crazy things happen. The Reds are going on this nutty winning streak. The Marlins are, in second and way above 500 now. Luis Arias is hitting 400. The Astros are, they won tonight at least, but they were entering the day third place in their own division. The Dodgers are in third place behind the Giants after getting swept in their division, third place. There's some crazy things going on in baseball right now.
Yeah, crazy, but it's making it so much more fun. Like this AL wild card race, you stumbled into that for a minute with the Astros. Like, it looks like it's going to be wild. Like the Angels are, Ohtani's just dominating baseball right now, and that's pushed the Angels up into a wild card spot. So you've got the Angels, the Orioles look like they're a wild card team. If the Orioles are a wild card team, you got 2 spots for the Angels, the Astros, the Yankees, the Blue Jays. 2 of those teams can't make the playoffs, assuming Texas keeps winning, which isn't a sure thing. Although teams historically with that kind of run differential at this point in the season, typically do make the playoffs. But you've just got some really cool, interesting stuff now. And then in the NL side, you've got this awful division that the Reds are in, where somebody with a barely winning record will probably, and maybe a negative run differential. Yeah. It's not even like the Reds have just a negative run differential, and same with the Marlins. Like they're not climbing out of that ever or anytime soon, right? Like the Marlins are minus 15, the Reds are minus 16. Like these aren't negative run different, like -1 or -2, and they could pump it up to positive and never look back. Like it takes a little while to climb out of a negative 15 run differential.
It really does.
So,
it really does.
Yeah, so that's not really going to change. And then when you look at the other teams that could challenge them, the Brewers are minus 22. The only team in that division with a positive run differential is the Cubs.
And we're in 4th place. Yeah. And, they have looked really bad at times.
Yeah.
Like really, really bad. It's so funny. But Joey Votto is back, made a big splash yesterday in, very dramatic fashion there. That was awesome.
Yep.
We saw, they called up De La Cruz. Andrew Abbott's been super fun. It's been really neat all along. Ellie, of course, homered tonight. We're starting to wonder, okay, where's the power? He only has 1 homer. He's striking out a lot. He's still going to strike out a lot, by the way.
Yeah.
But I mean, he runs every chance he gets. I mean, that's one of the things that's so amazing.
Absolutely. I mean, from a fantasy perspective, as long as he can just post a respectable batting average, 230 even, like he'll be.
He's Bobby Witt, basically.
Pretty much. Yeah. Maybe even more speed, maybe even a worse batting average. We'll see where it all shakes out. Maybe not.
Yeah.
But we'll see where it all shakes out. But yeah. I think obviously the comparison is too easy, but he's O'Neal Cruz at the very least from last year.
Right.
So, but this lineup is so fun. TJ Friedel's hitting over his head. But whatever, he's having a great season when he's healthy. Matt McLean's been good. Jonathan Ian's been great. Jake Fraley's been sneaky good. He's back off the IL.
Yep.
Like he's done some things. Now they got Votto back. Spencer Steer's been solid. Now you've got Tyler Stevenson, who's considered to be one of the better hitting catchers in baseball, hitting way down.
Hasn't been that way though, by the way.
No, hasn't been, but hasn't been more potential maybe than a lot of teams' catchers.
Yeah, it's true.
He's can hit way down the lineup. Fangraphs has him slotted 8th. That was his most recent appearance. And it's just you have Nick Senzel, who you can throw in at any time to hit 9th. He's like Nick Senzel's had not a good MLB career, but as a number 9 hitter, that's fine. Will Benson could be the number 9 hitter. It's just a really cool lineup. I mean, there's a scenario if you want to get super optimistic. Like I know Hunter Green just went on the IL. Yeah. But if they can just hang around, there's maybe a scenario where Green gets back, Lodolo gets back. They've got Abbott. I'm not a huge believer in Abbott, but the potential's certainly there. I don't know.
Yeah.
And then they've got a closer, Alexis Diaz. They've got a closer who's good.
Yeah, they do.
Yeah, and they don't have a good bullpen setting up the closer, but a lot of teams have bullpen woes. Right.
Diaz really kind of struggled today in getting the save, but that's his 20th save. I have 0 shares of Diaz this year, even though David Bell kind of hinted at it this year. He goes,
he did. Oh, he said,
yeah, and he goes, I don't like to name a closer, but he's our closer. I mean, you don't usually hear, and I heard it, I listened to it, but I didn't do anything about it. So shame on me for that. But so it goes there. But anyways. Very, very, very heady times here. They're at a point now where they just DFA'd Will Myers today.
Don't even need him.
There's not a space on the roster for him. He was coming on. He was on the IL. He's finished his rehab assignment. He was healed. They couldn't just park him there anymore.
Yeah.
And they said, hey, we got to let you go. They wanted him to be this year's Drury. Is what they really wanted. So they could turn around and flip him for a prospect, or maybe turn him into, or just have him produce, but that didn't happen, obviously. The Reds payroll is crazy. Someone, I forget who is pointing this out, but it's something I've been aware of, obviously. Like Joey Votto is way up at the top, like 25 million or whatever.
Yeah.
Myers DFA'd. Luis Sessa was making more than minimum, DFA'd. Mike Moustakas gone. Ken Griffey Jr. is still getting paid. This is the top part of their payroll. It's crazy. Nobody is any good is making any money except for maybe Votto. They've got help they still have help coming too. Isaac was asking, will Christian Encarnacion Strand come up? I think when the Reds designated Myers, some people speculated that's the move, but the fact is he wasn't already on the active roster anyhow. So it got people excited. That's twice now I've seen that. Like one time in CES, we'll call him CES, it'll be easier. Wasn't in the lineup at AAA Louisville, and they were like, oh, you know what? He's getting called up. He's not in the lineup. No, just getting a day. unfortunately. But so it goes. We'll see if they. And the thing is, it's tricky. They got to figure out where he's going to play because Spencer Steer did play left field yesterday. So that'll be an option at times. They've been using Stevenson though at DH, and as long as he's at DH, that takes away a spot for Encarnacion Strand for him and Votto to coexist.
Yeah, he's just Encarnacion Strand. If he keeps hitting well in the minors, like he's just he could be like a game changer for that lineup, like which already has a bunch of game changers now, but just another shot in the arm for that lineup. Like you just don't use Stevenson at DH, because you've got Encarnacion Strand. It makes it so that like the Reds, like I said, like their perfect scenario is Encarnacion Strand comes up at some point. That makes the line like a lineup that now looks solid even better. And then they get the young pitchers back, so maybe they don't need to trade for a starter. And then maybe they trade some insignificant prospects for a couple bullpen arms to just kind of shore it up enough to maybe squeak out a divisional win. I will say, okay, so if I want to throw a little cold water on this, not much cold water, but
Jeff, please go ahead.
Give me a guess as to what you believe their odds are on FanGraphs of making the playoffs, which I'm assuming was done prior to tonight's games.
Okay, so I looked on DraftKings earlier, and I only looked at the divisional odds. Because I'm kind of just
odds but that's basically the same thing when it comes to the Reds, because the odds of that division getting a wild card team's pretty slim.
Yeah. So the Brewers were minus odds still, like minus 110.
Okay.
The Reds and the Cubs, I think, were plus 425, plus 450.
Okay. So I'm
the Cardinals were 600, Pirates were 1500. So that's like roughly 25%, right? 20 to 25%.
Okay. So FanGraphs had them at, actually this is updated. It does have their current record in it. 17.4%.
Okay.
Has them and the Cubs basically identical. It actually has the Reds and the Cubs just with barely a better odds than the Cardinals.
Yeah, see, that's the thing is there's a lot of latent belief in the Cardinals still.
Yeah, well, this is FanGraphs, which isn't really much a belief, is more of a statistical analysis, I guess, of the teams.
But okay, so you're right. It's not a human belief, but the inputs haven't changed.
That's right. That there's some talent on this Cardinals roster,
right? Well, and
which I think is fair.
But the inputs are ultimately, I mean, yes, there should be like cold-hearted, robotic notions of what those players are, but those players, I mean, it really hasn't changed the expectations of those players. Only thing that's changed is like the metrics on how much more they have to climb.
Right. So I just was looking at it, and I threw a little cold water because I thought, hey, the Reds have a way better chance than the Padres of making the playoffs. Well, according to FanGraphs, the Padres are actually about 50-50 to make the playoffs, and the Reds are only 17% because obviously the wild cards, and there aren't really NL teams that have run away with the wild card. Anyways, like with at least the last couple wild cards.
I'll be the one to throw cold water.
It's fun to be a Reds fan right now.
It is. It's super fun. Yeah. But I'll be the one to throw cold water on it right now. Hunter Green's on the IL. Nick Lodolo's on the IL. He's on the 60-day IL for that matter. Graham Ashcraft is on the IL, and he was struggling. Your rotation has Andrew Abbott, yay. Ben Lively, meh. Luke Weaver, yee. Brandon Williamson, yeah. And pitcher to be named later. They only have 4 starters right now. They have to call somebody up to fill that last spot. Yeah. It might be they got this. It might be Connor Phillips. That might be a guy that gets a chance at some point in time, but he's at Double-A still, and he just got promoted to Double-A a little bit ago. So, he's been all year at Double-A. I take that back, but he's been really good there, mind you. So as he's similar track to Abbott in terms of like really taking the leap this year, but he wasn't really a big prospect going into this year.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, like you said, like the cold water scenario here is that the Reds don't have the pitching. The pitchers are hurt. You know, it goes south. Like as much as they won, a bunch of games in a row, they could actually just have the pitching fall apart and lose a bunch of games in a row.
Correct.
Well, actually, what could happen to the Reds is exactly what's currently happening to the Pirates.
Yeah.
Who have won one of their last 10 games.
And they had a similar stretch in May that was abysmal.
Yeah.
And we thought that finally they emerged from that. They swept the Cardinals, but then another wave of reality hit. And that in fact, That's likely to happen to the Reds. Not just possible, it's likely to happen.
Yeah.
The difference is I think the Reds bats are better than the Pirates bats, but the Pirates pitching was better than the Reds pitching, is the way I would kind of view that. But yeah, so we'll see what happens with all that there. But anywho, that's enough on the Reds. I think we spent 15 minutes on the Reds. That's pretty good. We'll switch over to your Jays because this is, and the transition will be provided by Jason Allen, who asks, Fred, the real question is, Will Myers better than Spencer Horwitz or Nathan Lukes? Two scrubs on the bottom part of the Jays roster right now. Would the Jays be interested in taking a flyer on Will Myers?
I don't know. I don't think that really fixes what is ailing the Jays right now. Like the Jays can't hit right now. I don't think Will Myers.
No, I don't think so either. I just want to use that as a bridge.
Yeah. Anyways, I was just going to say the Jays lineup is heavily right-handed. I don't think Will Myers is really a fit for Toronto.
No.
Unfortunately, I think the current Jays need to hit their way out of this current problem. I don't think the Jays can fix their offense by trades. Like Guerrero needs to hit better.
Well, let's start with Vlad. Vlad last year had an 819 OPS. We still drafted him in the first round. 819 is it's good.
Not great.
It's great. It's good. It's not great. He slugged 480, but he still hit 32 homers somehow. But just not a lot, it's not, he's nowhere near that this year. He's slugging 428 this year. I got to say, what's wrong with Vladimir Guerrero?
So what if we talk about the chance that maybe Vladimir Guerrero's like good, but not that good? Like maybe Vladimir Guerrero's like, at least we'll see. Like he's still only, what is he now? 24. So there could still be another uptick in production, but maybe Vladimir Guerrero is like a really good major league hitter, but not a great major league hitter. Like when you look at his career, he comes up as a rookie, 772 OPS. Okay, sure. It's good. It's not amazing. It's fine. It's good. Next year in the strike shortened season, he was really overweight, 791, hit a bunch of balls into the ground. The next year, everything clicks, 1,002. But remember that season, the Jays started the season playing out of Dunedin. Then at times they were playing out of Buffalo.
That's right.
And then eventually they were playing in Toronto. And his splits that season, I know a lot of people warned us about all this, was that, when he was in Dunedin, he was awesome. And when he was in Buffalo, he was awesome. So his OPS that season during Buffalo games, 1,180. So his time in Dunedin, 1,418. So if you take him, and in Toronto, he was good that season, about 900. But like, if you took those and maybe put them in Rogers Center, maybe he's more, instead of an 1,002 OPS that season, maybe it's more like 900 and 900. Still really good. Anyways, last year, 818. This year, 778. Outside of the time where the Blue Jays played home games in Dunedin and Buffalo, we haven't seen Vlad be awesome. Like I was hoping Vlad was going to be Miguel Cabrera when he first came into the majors.
Yeah.
Like that level of like he's not a runner, he's a little overweight, but like just an incredible bat, like just an incredible hitter. So far he's not that. He's a good hitter. He's a 270 something hitter. His career is 283. That's with the one huge season. Like he's like a 280 hitter, decent walk rate, not amazing. Decent power, not amazing. This year, not even great power at all. But I'm starting to wonder, unless there's another level for Vlad, maybe Vlad is like a really good player, like a good player, but he's not Bryce Harper. He's not Mike Trout. He's not Ohtani. He's not Acuna. You know what I mean? Like he's good.
Yeah.
I wonder if maybe the next step for Vlad, we'll see if it ever happens. He hits a lot of balls into the ground.
Yeah.
That hasn't really changed other than the one season. He was not able to sustain that change.
Yeah. The funny thing is I'm on his Savant page right now. Average exit velocity is 98th percentile. Max exit velocity, I know some people don't really care about that. It's 98th percentile. Hard hit percentage, 98th percentile. Barrel percentage is in the like high 80th percentiles. He's just not elevating enough.
Doesn't elevate. It's a bit of a Yelich type profile, like a lot of ground balls.
Without the speed to go with it.
Absolutely.
Even though some would argue he's been done eating a little bit more earlier than usual.
Yeah.
Ever since leaving Dunedin. But sorry, I had to try to force that a little bit. But not really.
I just like with this ground ball rate, I think the best he can be is like a really good hitter, but not an amazing. Like I said, like I think the expectations on Vlad as he started his major league career was that by now at age 24, which is not that young for like Hall of Fame type players, right? Like you go look at the age 24 season of Hall of Fame type players, it's pretty amazing.
Yeah.
I think that was the expectation, is that by now Vlad would be established as like one of the top 5, if not top 10 at least, hitters in baseball.
Yeah, he was on the path, but like you said, the ballparks had a big part of that.
I can see Vlad next year in drafts falling if this is how his season goes. Like if he finishes this season with, I don't know, let's say even rallies and finishes the season with like 28 homers or something like that, but it's 285 or something. I don't know, with very few steals. He's not a first round pick, and I don't even know if he's a second round pick.
No, I don't.
Maybe he's a third round pick, like just a really high floor third round pick.
Yeah, I mean, because he's not going to run a lot, and you know, it's hard to square this because 48 homers is still a lot. It's really hard to square that. But 32 last year, when it's a full year in Toronto, I don't know. I think I'd be excruciatingly patient with him, to borrow a Ron Chandler term.
So the year he hit the 48 homers, he hit 21 of them in 44 games in those two parks.
That's insane.
Is insane. If you take those out, don't take them out, but put them at maybe the pace he hit them at the other parks. You know, he drops back into like a 30-something homer guy.
He hit 19 out of his 32 at home last year, though.
Yep.
I mean, and that there was no fluky park factor there.
But I think, I agree. But I think if 19's good. I think like if you put him at those other parks for a season, he doesn't hit 19 at home. He hits like 26 at home.
Yeah.
Something like that, you know, and all of a sudden he's among the major league leaders. And now from a fantasy perspective, because he doesn't steal bases, and he'll probably finish the season with 6 or 8 steals. It's not nothing, but it's a little less impactful right now with a few more steals out there. But either way, because he doesn't steal bases, like for him to be a first round pick or even an early second round pick or something like that, like he's got to be a 40 homer, like 290 batting average kind of guy.
For sure.
Or 35 homers, 300, but something like that.
You want to have a little fun with sample size splits here?
Okay.
He has no homers at home. He's hitting 239, 311, 299 at home. He's hitting 316, 389, 535 on the road. He has no homers against lefties so far this year, but hitting 333 against them.
Yeah.
So he's hitting for average against lefties, and he's getting on base. He's just not hitting for power against them.
And he doesn't weird. And I watch a lot of Blue Jays baseball. He doesn't look good. He does not look like you're not like when I watch Vlad, I'm not like it's right on the cusp, like any moment. Like he's hit so many to the warning track, guys. Like it's right there, or a few have just gone foul. Like to me, he does not look like he's on. It might happen. We've seen that, small tweaks or whatever, but he does not look like someone who's just on the verge of like, oh, all of a sudden in July he's going to hit a dozen home runs. It doesn't look like that. Maybe it'll happen, but it doesn't look like that.
It's funny thing though is like the home road splits. It's the opposite, even of last year of what he did. Last year, he slugged more at home than he did on the road. So I know weird stuff with him. But I agree. I mean, if he ends up being a 30 homer guy though, with decent average, I don't know. I think he'd be fine. So I don't know. I just kind of look at him and I feel like he's got that talent, the hard hit rate. And I think it's going to come around at some point in time. I would probably be looking to buy low. I think you could buy low right now on him.
I think that's I think you could buy low too. So Vlad or Matt Olson, there's a buy low.
It's a buy medium.
Like Matt Olson was like he's got 20 homers, low batting average, but he was like a third round draft pick, like
fourth even,
pick 40. Vlad was like pick 10.
Yeah.
So.
That's actually yeah, I guess that, I mean, I think I'd rather, I mean, I think you could do that trade right now. And the fact is that I'm hesitating. To me, that's probably a good sign that, yeah, you could probably do that trade.
Yeah.
According to, here's some, you're also wear a Yahoo hat. Here are some trades that have happened with him today. Straight up for Wander Franco.
Oof. I'll take Franco.
I think I would too. Straight up for Nolan
Roto, I'll take Franco. I know a lot of those are points, but anyways, go ahead.
Straight up for Nolan Arenado.
Well, that's a good one. I'll take Vlad.
I would too.
Yeah,
I absolutely would.
Because Arenado's been like solid, but and a little better than Vlad. But yeah, I'll take Vlad.
Yeah, Arenado so far this year, he has 15 homers.
Wow, yeah, 15 homers, 49 RBIs. Like
I think 8 of them were in
Arenado season of 30 homers and 100 RBIs.
Yeah,
yeah,
that's a better deal than I thought it was. My immediate reaction is, oh yeah, I do Vlad, but maybe not.
I think I would do Vlad because I just think with Franco, the ceiling's so high with all these steals. Like if he just keeps doing this and steals 60 bases,
right?
And we're seeing more steals this year, but we're not seeing a lot of players have crazy steal totals.
Yeah.
Like we're seeing more steals overall. Like you said, Freddie Freeman's got 10 steals, but like we're not going to see like 10 guys get 60 steals or something like that. You know what I mean? Or even 50 steals. Like we're going to see Ruiz, Acuna. They might be the only guys who get to 60 steals.
And Wander, maybe.
Example. And maybe the only guys who get to 50. Maybe Wander, maybe Bobby Witt, someone like that. Maybe gets to 50, but we might not. We might only see a couple guys even get to 50. So
Ellie, maybe.
Maybe. Yeah, Ellie.
Well, like you're getting a little
50 by the end of July.
Sure, of course.
Yeah. Anyways, so the steals from Wander are still like incredibly valuable.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wander Franco breakout is different than I expected it to be, but I'm here for it. Like it looks like he's still going to hit not 20 home runs. He's going to have a good batting average, but all of a sudden these steals have kind of come out of nowhere.
Yeah. Yeah. And, he's always had the sprint speed, but hasn't translated to stolen bases. And now it's translating. So,
yeah.
I guess
Vlad or Corbin Carroll, that would be a fun one.
Corbin Carroll because of the speed. Carroll's got everything. He's got the power too. He's hitting lefties.
So you're right. And now when you look at StatCast data, Carroll has overperformed his StatCast data. So maybe there's some regression coming, but even with some regression, like Carroll's power numbers are pretty much what you would have expected from Vlad, and you're not getting it. So, and then Carroll's hitting 300. So, and even if Carroll regresses and hits 270 from this point forward, that's still not much lower than Vlad, and you get all the steals. So,
yeah.
But Corbin Carroll versus Vlad, that's to me an interesting one, just in the sense that Carroll is Carroll a first round pick next year? Probably.
Oh, easily.
If this keeps going.
Is he a top 10 pick, top 5 pick?
Yeah, I'm not like 100% that he keeps up this pace, so I'm not like locking him in there yet. But you're right. I think he'll be.
Isn't he kind of outperforming Julio with what Julio did last year?
Yep. Yeah. I'm trying to think if he's outperforming Julio where Julio was at this point last year. Because remember, Julio all of a sudden stopped stealing bases.
Yeah, he got hurt
at the end of. That's right. At the end of about the middle of July, like he had a crazy high steals total in the middle of July, and then all of a sudden it dried up. So
yeah,
but yeah, you're right. Right now, it looks like Carroll's an easy first round pick for next year.
Yeah, and all along we're like, oh, I'm not paying that helium. I'm not paying that helium.
Yeah,
those who did got a bargain.
Yeah, this is one of those times where the helium was worth it.
Yeah.
Yep.
So your Jays did win today. They beat the Marlins 2-0.
Jays can't hit, but they pitched well today. So
Eury Perez is awesome though, so I get that. Yeah, he went 6 today, 9 Ks. How can the Marlins even think about shutting Perez down? I mean, unless they really fall out of the race, they can't even think about it.
Well, they're not going to fall out of the race, like that NL wildcard race. Like when you have one division that's not going to put any teams in the wild card race, then like they're going to hang around. They're 10 games above 500 even with the loss today. Like they're going to hang around. They're 7.5 ahead of the Mets. Like they're going to hang around. It's going to be them, the Phillies, the Giants, either Arizona or LA. San Diego probably climbs in there at some point. But it's going to be about those 5 teams or so for about 3 spots. So they're going to hang around in the race.
Yeah, I think so
Yeah,
too.
and Perez, you're right. Looks like the best rookie starter of all these starters we've bid $300 FAAB on. Maybe he's
Yeah.
the best of them.
Yeah, Bobby Miller had his first bad
Yeah,
start. Bibby's been pretty good, although he struggled
I
against the
love
Padres a
Bybee,
little bit.
but
Yeah.
maybe Perez is just a little better.
Yeah. I mean, we're getting it's a good wave of young starters. Heart Foundation asks, this is the best group of young starters pitching and hitting ever in MLB history.
I don't remember a season where and I know we've just shifted maybe our FAAB focus a bit, but
Yeah.
I don't remember a season where this many starters are commanding, $200 plus FAAB bids.
Yeah.
It feels like there's one every week. If I want to segue right now to Gavin Williams, but it feels like there's one every week.
Yeah. Emmett Sheehan last week.
There wasn't one last week. It feels like
No, there
one
was Emmett Sheehan.
Oh, Emmett Sheehan, you're right. His bids were a little lower, I felt like.
Yeah, because I don't think it's his spot secure necessarily.
Also, I think some of us are running out of money.
Oh, without a doubt.
Like I think there's leagues where just a $120 bid is going to win it.
Yeah.
So yeah, you're right though. I totally forgot about Emmett Sheehan, and yeah, he counts for sure.
All-time pitching prospect Williams. Of the month of the week.
Yeah, that's right. So I feel like I'm almost sure I've never seen a season where this many starters have come up who warrant these triple digit bids. And I know, again, like we've shifted a bit on how much we value them, but it just feels like so many prospects. And I felt like a month ago, some people were saying, well, that's it. That's it for the prospects. That's it for the other than Ellie De La Cruz. That's it for the big name prospects, especially the pitchers. That's it. We've got all the good ones up, but they just keep coming.
Well, we get these pop-up prospects. I mean, the same week that we had De La Cruz, we had bidding on Abbott and Smith-Shawver, and neither Abbott nor Smith-Shawver were on 99% of people's radars. I mean, James Anderson knew about them, obviously. Other prospect guys did. Maybe partisans of those respective teams did, but they weren't thinking about drafting them. They were universally available. I mean, they were available in the RotoWire staff keeper league in the case of Abbott. I mean, we go 18 teams. We have 10-man minor league rosters and 7-man reserves. And some minor leaguers are obviously kept already on that prospect list. So you're going 200 deep on prospect lists, and still they were there. I mean, it's and I wonder, like in the case of Abbott, he got to pitch the tacky ball down in AA Southern League. And that helped him a lot. And maybe it changes how you are as a pitcher. Some pitchers like it a lot, some don't.
Yeah, I think that's totally possible. I do think that the lack of relief pitcher options on waivers this year has allowed us to spend even more on starters.
Yeah.
Whether we should or not, but like think back throughout the season, like how many Sundays has there been a reliever that everybody's drooling over? Like never? Close to never?
Agreed.
Off the top of your head, can you think of a reliever this season where people were bidding $100 on him?
Not really. Maybe someone Will Smith early on that worked out,
or AJ Minter early on, but he wasn't even getting big bids. I was able to grab Minter in some leagues for like 40 or 50.
Right, because we thought maybe
Iglesias was supposed to be like 3 weeks or something like that. Yeah. Like I look back at them like maybe Jason Adam in some leagues where he was dropped when Fairbanks went out, although Fairbanks again was only supposed to be out 2 or 3 weeks. I felt like Adam's bids were still 2-digit bids, not 3-digit bids.
Right.
We haven't had the bids on relievers this year, and these are the best ones I just named. Like we haven't had bids on relievers this year where and we've seen those in every past year where everybody's bidding $200 or $300 because like this guy's the closer, for the rest of the season. The closer got hurt, and this guy's the new closer. So that's freeing up money for us to spend, I guess, on these starters.
I think,
and then we're all just going to scrounge for saves.
Yeah, and I think a couple things are happening here. One, teams are managing their bullpens differently. We have pure committees, and a lot of teams, good teams, not just the crappy teams. Like, who cares if the Rockies have a committee? Two, there's 3 things that are happening. 2, we haven't seen high profile busts.
No, like closers are holding their jobs.
Yeah. And then 3, I actually think we're better at rostering the next guy ahead of time too.
Right.
So they're not, even when there is a change, they're not out there. They're not available.
Yep.
So I think that's
very true. Jordan Hicks would have been an example last weekend. he wasn't a big bid, but he had gotten a couple saves on the weekend, right? So Helsley's out. We don't know what'll happen with Helsley.
Yeah.
But it's still not like Hicks is definitely the guy. Like Giovanni Gallegos is, I think, a better pitcher than Hicks, and he's still around, and Helsley's going to be back. So that's, like I said, like that's like one where maybe Hicks goes for 60 or 80 or something like that, but still not like 200, and he's the guy for the rest of the season.
Yeah. All right, Gavin Williams. Let's talk about him. So where does he rank among all these guys that we've been bidding on all along?
Hasn't made a start yet, but I think pretty high. Like I said, like I think he'll go for less in some leagues just because there's no money left. I'm in leagues where the top guy has 400 left. Right. So I just think in some leagues he only goes for 150 or 200 because of that. But I think he's as good as any of the ones, like just on pure prospect, and he can stay in the rotation. Like Tristan McKenzie's out for a long time.
Yeah.
So I think, yeah, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, in Tout Wars, sorry about that.
I lost you for a second. Go ahead.
No, I think I just leaned on the corner or something.
Oh, that's okay.
Tout Wars, you can, when you lose a guy to injury, you can hold on to him, or you can just cut him and reclaim the money you spent on him in auction and FAAB. Like, so if you spent $17 on a player in the auction, in the AL, at least AL and NL, you can get 170 in FAAB back if you chose to do that with McKenzie this time. I've done that with Jeffrey Springs, Jose Urquidy, and now McKenzie in that league. And I traded away Lance Lynn. How's my season going? Not great, Bob.
I'm going to back off actually a bit on his sustainability in the rotation, like just a little bit, in the sense that the Guardians just have so much pitching. So let's just say McKenzie never makes it back, which is extreme. Bieber, Bybee, Savali, Logan Allen, and Cal Quantrill starting a rehab assignment. And I know Cal Quantrill, you could say, like, he's not that good. Like, he can't hold Gavin Williams back. Well,
Canadian. Yeah.
Got to stick up for my boys. No, but Cal Quantrill, the advanced stats don't like him, but he's still a pitcher who's made 86 starts in his career. And in his career, he's got a 3.77 ERA. And he allows them, when he's back, if he goes in the rotation, to just maintain more pitching depth by sending Williams down, or maybe by sending Bybee down for a while, or maybe by sending Allen down for a while. I think if Williams pitches well, he can stay in the rotation, but I don't think it's like a total given. That being said, I'm still, if he has a good start this week, like tomorrow, I think we're still going to see huge bids, $200 bids.
I agree. The context,
really, really good prospect.
He is. He's a great prospect, number I think 17 or 18 in James Anderson's prospect list.
Yeah.
And he gets the A's. So that actually, in a way, kind of almost works against a little bit, because you're all like, oh, yeah, he did it against. But I think control was before the injury. Makes me think if Williams is, is good at all in his first start, I mean, he's gonna be hard pressed to displace him, I think. Guess what? He gets Oakland, and then he gets the team that's almost as bad as Oakland, Kansas City, and then and that's on the road, and then at the Cubs. I'm not afraid of any of those three starts. I mean, that's a really nice setup to make your major league debut.
Yeah, absolutely. And you won't get the Oakland start in a lot of leagues, but whatever, you get the next two, and moreover, like, just if he goes through those three starts and allows like 6 earned runs, like maybe he holds a rotation spot. And again, like, even if Quantrill's back in 2 weeks, maybe they take that as an opportunity to slow Bybee down for a bit, send him down to the minors, have him have some 3 or 4 inning starts, or send Logan Allen down or something like that. So I wouldn't say it's a given that like Williams was the last guy up, so he's the first guy to go down. Like Cleveland they're right there with Minnesota, having a chance to win that division. So, they need to pace some of these pitchers so that they have 5 good ones available down the stretch. And McKenzie should be back, although at this point, sounds like he's going to be out maybe 6 weeks or more. I don't know. He just hasn't been able to get on track this year. I don't know. We'll see. I wouldn't totally count on him getting back. Oh, we've lost Jeff for a minute. So while Jeff comes back in, I will say that that with Williams, though, his ability to throw 100 miles an hour, pretty impressive. As I was saying, I just think that there is that chance that he does stick in the rotation. Even when the other guys come back. Maybe we'll take a look at some questions actually while Jeff's out. So we've got some questions in here. Here's a question. I know Jeff will want to chime in on this when he gets back in, but Henry Davis as a catcher, and what is he worth as far as adding? The cool thing about Davis is that he's going to not play catcher all the time. He's going to play some outfield as well. And the other cool thing about him is that he can steal some bases. And we haven't seen that, yet in his major league debut. He's played 2 games. He's got 1 hit in 7 at bats. 8 plate appearances, did pick up a walk, but only a couple strikeouts. So just really nothing's happened yet. But I think Davis, who's going to be out there in NFBC leagues this weekend, is pretty much a must add, because when you think about the chances for you to get a catcher, who's got the ability, let's say the rest of the year he could provide you with, I don't know, let's say 10 homers and half a dozen steals, and maybe doesn't hurt your batting average. Maybe hits a batting average that provides batting average that's respectable. I think that's, and every 2 catcher league, there's 6 teams that could probably use Henry Davis. He's not going to fetch the type of bid that Williams is going to fetch. And that's because, Davis is like, in your league, there's going to be a lot of teams that just don't need a catcher. So
yeah, that's right.
Right. Jeff's back. Hey, Jeff. So
hi.
While you were gone, I made a slightly awkward, but not totally awkward transition. The Hart Foundation asked us about Henry Davis, so I decided to jump over to him from Gavin Williams. And I said, I don't think he's going to get the bids Williams will, because 12 teams in your league out of a 15-team league probably need pitching on some level. Whereas there's going to be teams who just really don't need a second catcher.
And you got to make sure you get catcher eligibility with him too. He's not playing catcher for the Pirates, which is interesting.
That's right.
Yes. So I think that's going to be something to watch for a little bit too.
But a few steals, he gets that bump where, as a catcher, I was saying when you were just readjusting there, that if you could get the rest of the way from him, 10 homers, a batting average that doesn't hurt your average, but then you get a half a dozen steals. The half a dozen steals is what makes him better than a replacement level catcher.
Right. I mean, you could get, and this was something James Anderson was saying on the XM show today, is if you get, Henry Davis as a catcher right now, you get him kind of like the Dalton Varsho, where he's, he's a player that is qualifies a catcher, but isn't a catcher. That's beautiful.
Yes, absolutely. That's the holy grail, right? To have a catch, because he's less likely to get hurt. He's more likely to play every day. I do think someone of his draft ilk, like a 1-1 MLB draft pick, like if he's up, he's playing. Maybe not every day, but 5 out of 6, something like that. So, and at catcher,
that's good news. In the NFBC, he is catcher eligible. So you got that going for you.
There you go. I did write. So when I was doing the waiver wire column this week, I don't think I've ever had this before, writing for Yahoo, but I had 3 catchers in the waiver wire column. I had Danny Jansen, who was available in a lot of NFBC leagues, even 15-team leagues, like a week ago.
Because he got dropped when he went on the IL. Sure.
That's right. And then, which I felt like was a little aggressive to drop him, because when he's healthy, he hits. Like, he's not incredible, but like he hits. So I felt like that was a little aggressive, but whatever. He was available. Bo Naylor available, and then Davis. So between those 3, like this is a good time for those who decided to pick their second catcher in round 27 and said, I'll just piece it, and I'll just piece it together until I figure something out, because it's pretty easy to figure something out now, and it may only cost you $55 or something like that.
Yeah, that's right.
Not 200.
Yeah. I saw some aggressive bids on Naylor this past weekend. because it's finally time. Now,
would you rather have Naylor or Davis?
Say that again.
Would you rather have Naylor or Davis?
Davis, I think.
I think so too, and a lot of people I've heard say Naylor, and I'm not saying they're crazy or anything like that, but to me, the two differentiations with Davis are: one, he's playing outfield, and two, he can steal a few bases.
Yeah, I think that's right.
If we're just talking value in a vacuum, those are the two changes for me.
Yeah, I think that's right. Yeah, it's been interesting that there actually have been some catchers that have gotten a call this year. Obviously, Francisco Alvarez, but it doesn't stop there either. I mean, you got the kid in San Francisco who's been pretty valuable as well.
Yes, Patrick Bailey, for sure. Gary Sanchez,
yes,
has recently been called. Got a call. And it's not like Gary Sanchez has been awesome. He's hitting 188, but he has 6 home runs. In 22 games played. So, there's been. So I have some teams actually this year where I drafted JT Realmuto and Salvador Perez. Some of those teams are doing well. Not all of them, but some of those teams are doing well. But sometimes I do look back and wonder, like, the catcher position doesn't usually take a ton of FAAB to fill it. Like, maybe it's better to leave one of your catcher spots just open, to just take a Jose Trevino, Yan Gomes, etc. at the start of the year, and then just play around with it. Especially maybe in the $1,000 FAAB leagues. Maybe in labor, you end up kind of wasting a lot of $1 and $2, and you don't, which matters more there. But
because it's less granular for sure.
Right.
I think that's absolutely right.
Yeah, in the $1,000 FAAB leagues, though, like I can think of one team right now where I've had Patrick Bailey, I've had Gary Sanchez. I've had options of picking up these other guys if I want to, and it's used from FAAB, but maybe that's not a bad plan, is to just have, and I know a lot of people do it, is have at least one catcher spot. Maybe not both, but have at least one catcher spot where it's just wide open.
Yeah. Maybe so.
Yeah, you just don't use resources in the draft on it.
The problem is if you land on the wrong ones, obviously you're at a big, you're at maybe not a big disadvantage, but you're at a disadvantage to those who did well. Matt Theis is another one who's been okay. It's another one where you've
Connor Wong had his moments, for example. But it's just your idea that you're going to churn them until maybe eventually you hit on someone. And maybe you never do. Maybe you end up spending $130 FAAB over the whole season just to churn catcher.
Well, keep trying to get in that case, you're not being disciplined enough on your bids, right? Although then again, if Naylor was available, you in that situation, you'd be going for it there.
Yeah, but the truth is, it's not like Naylor solves your problem. Like, he may solve your problem, but he also like hasn't got a hit yet. Like, he may not solve your problem. You may have bid $50 on Naylor and got him last week, and he may, and in 2 weeks you may decide, like, I'm right back to square one.
Yeah, and then he'll bounce back after you cut him.
Totally.
Like if you're
the floor is so low.
You may have gotten frustrated with Francisco Alvarez early on because he wasn't playing every day and he struggled initially. Now, if you did that and someone else picked him up, you're screwed. But that's the worst part is when someone else gets the breakout and you were expecting there. We got a couple more other notes, but I want to make sure that we got our plug in our Blue Wire Network ads there because they are with us all season long. So here they are right now. All right. Thanks for indulging us with that. Louis Varland got sent down. This one kind of caught me by surprise, but then again, maybe I shouldn't have been surprised because they're going with the veteran here. They've got Maeda coming back off the IL. Varland's got to clear the spot for him. Yeah,
and Varland hasn't been good lately, and home runs have been a big problem for him. So he's allowed 2 homers in 3 of his last 5 starts. In his last 3 starts, he's allowed 17 earned runs in his last 3 starts. He's just kind of hit the wall.
Yeah, you know what?
It seems like teams have kind of figured him out, and maybe he needs to go down to the minors. They weren't the easiest. Well, some of them, like the at Tampa's tough. The at Toronto's not great. Home to Detroit should have been better. And I was excited about Varland when he came up. I picked him up in some leagues at like reasonable prices, like 40, 35 FAAB. But anyways,
and he was good initially. That's the thing. That's so frustrating.
And if he comes back, I won't have given up on him. But right now, he's been walking a few guys, but definitely burned by the long ball. He's got to get that under control.
Yeah, Twins to me, I mean, they've been very hurt, but at the same time, I feel like they're very disappointing. I'm But then again, they're starting Donovan Solano, a Reds cast-off at first base right now. I mean, they've been Polanco's on his third IL trip. Buxton can't play the outfield. Gallows had a trip to the IL. Almost everybody has. For a while, Willie Castro was their flavor, but now he's starting to fade. But Castro's still at 5 homers and 13 stolen bases. That's pretty good for a backup player.
Yep.
But it's just, they're just they strike me as still disappointing. And Christian Vasquez has been a huge disappointment. We were talking about the go ahead with the super cheap catcher. It's Vasquez that comes to mind because I allocated an 18th round pick on him. That's like a real outfielder in a 15-team mixed league. Instead,
it's like if you're gonna go that cheap, maybe you just go all the way to around 27.
Yeah, but I thought that I was getting a guy that's going to play every day and be okay.
He'd be a cut above. Yeah,
but he's not.
Well, he's playing. He just doesn't really do anything. And literally doesn't do anything.
Yeah,
home runs, steals, whatever. You're right. The Twins have been, like you said, they've been hurt. But they've also been like the guys who haven't been hurt or when they've been playing, they've been really blah.
Mm-hmm.
The Byron Buxton, I put him in our notes for today, just in the sense of are there leagues where he's a potential cut? If he can't play the outfield, I'm assuming he's not really going to steal many bases.
Right.
The rest of the way, he's hitting 202. He's got 10 homers. He's still a legit guy who can hit 25 or 30 homers. But if it's going to come with a really low batting average, he's hitting 202. Last year he hit 224. If he's a low 200s hitter, in all our NFBC style leagues, he's a keep. But I wondered in some shallower leagues if you start looking at him, if he doesn't steal a base for the next month, and in that month he hits 210, you start thinking what am I doing here? I'm just getting empty kind of. You know what I mean? But power that comes with a batting average strain.
A high price tag Joey Gallo then.
Yeah, so I was trying to resist making that comparison because it felt too easy because Gallo's on the Twins. But that's how I kind of feel about it. I could also talk about Carlos Correa in some really shallow leagues and what you want to do with him because he doesn't steal any bases. And
he hasn't for years, though.
No, and he doesn't hit for a lot of power.
Yeah.
But at least usually gets you some batting average.
Harder to find a shortstop on the waiver wire, though.
Oh, I don't know. I got some teams with a lot of shortstops right now.
I do too, actually. Well, that's
maybe not waiver wire guys, but you even think from your Reds have provided us with 2 studs in the last month to add.
And I think Ellie qualifies at third in a lot of leagues now too. I know on DraftKings they list him as a third and short, so that's nice. Yeah. I don't think he does an NFBC yet.
Not yet. Yeah, it's coming. I'm waiting for it. The one league where I picked him.
Uncle Ted asked, "What's up with Sal Frelick?" We talked a little bit about him on the RotoWire show. On the RotoWire XM show today. So let's go ahead and talk about him for the Brewers. They've had Joey Weimer's been doing all right, inspiring people to have mullets like him. But Frelick's hit for average since coming back. He got hurt a while ago. He just came back from an injury about a week ago. Hitting for average right now. I think he'll be up pretty soon. I wouldn't be surprised you see him, get the call. And he's another sneaky prospect you can add on.
Yeah, absolutely. He'll be another one who will, not a huge bid, but I think like a medium type bid. Yeah, I agree with you. I think he probably will get the call pretty soon. Looking at his minor league profile, profiles a little more as a base stealer, good contact skills, not a lot of power. So, but as long as he doesn't get the bat knocked out of his hand in the majors, he could get you a bit of batting average, bit of steals. I was going to kind of compare him to Luis Matos, who just came up for the Giants. I feel
like that. Guy. Yeah,
I feel like that's maybe a bit of a comparable. We'll see kind of where he fits in. But when you look at what the Brewers are rolling out in the outfield right now, Yelich is playing, Joey Weimer's playing. Brian Anderson's been playing third. He hasn't even been in the outfield.
Right.
There's not much else. Raimel Tapia. Yeah, I think the chances of Frelick coming up are pretty good. And like I said, I feel like that Matos comparison, their stats from last season are pretty similar. Their kind of profile in a minor league season, like a 10 homer, 20 steal, good batting average, good contact rate kind of guy. Yeah. And when he comes up, he could get a good run since these other options are pretty unappealing.
Yeah.
Maybe Tyrone Taylor. I haven't looked at a prognosis for Tyrone Taylor. Maybe he gets back and then that kind of blocks him. I feel like Tyrone Taylor's like always sniffing around a regular role in the Brewers outfield, but like every time he gets a chance to have a regular role, he either stinks or gets hurt. But then when he's a reserve, he has his moments.
He's a Midwest Trace Thompson.
Yeah, maybe. Like
two T's also, but for each.
You always dream on what Tyrone Taylor could be. Like if this guy played every day, he's a 20 homer, whatever, 15 steal guy, but it just never happens.
Yeah. Were you in on Matos, by the way?
Yep. Yeah, I picked him up in a couple leagues. Nothing huge, like $30, something like that. But yeah, I did pick him up. To me, he kind of profiles. We'll see where it all goes, but he kind of profiles as someone who gets on base, can get you a few steals, and so if he just has enough power that he hits the occasional homer, then I think he could be valuable.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, could score runs. Yep. He definitely profiles as someone who can hit for average right away. And then with Mitch Haniger being done, for maybe the season, who knows, but for a really long time, there's not really much blocking him.
Indeed.
If Matos can get on base, like there's no reason. Like since he's been up, he's played every day.
Yeah.
So he's also hit 6 the last 4 games that he's played. So he's not even hitting at the bottom of the lineup.
Yeah, I like him.
Yeah.
He's got a great batting eye.
Yeah.
I have him in like a couple score sheet leagues, so it's fun activating him.
Right.
Because there's no like discussion. Okay, do I start his clock like you do like in a keeper league? It's just if he's playing, you can put him in there, and it doesn't change his status at all. Right. Hey, I know it's after midnight your time right now. So is there anything else you want to hit, or should we let you go to bed?
Well, I have been up since very early this morning. Let me see if I've got anything that really caught my eye today. Sneaky pickup, I think, in some leagues right now is Eduardo Rodriguez. I grabbed him in Friends and Family. And he was sitting out there in some of my NFBCs, and I tried to get him cheap, and I got too cheap on the weekend, and other people were cheap, but maybe a little less cheap than me.
Yeah, sneaky of them.
Yeah, sneaky of them to notice the same thing as me. And I'll ask you this: Tim Anderson with his 0 home runs, 250 batting average, could he be a cut?
I am not there yet.
Yeah,
okay. But I understand.
He's a bench. Like I would bench him and not even think twice about it. Not even worry if he had a good week on my bench.
I guess it kind of depends on who your option is, right?
Yeah, I guess so. But like, unless I really needed steals, like that was my pivotal category, I think I could bench him right now.
I've got him in one league, and yeah, it's not great.
The 0 homers is just,
he's not even running.
Oh,
like, what are we doing here?
Yeah, you're right. Well, he has 8 steals. The other guy thought of in the same vein as Andrew Benintendi, he recently got his first homer. He has 9 steals. Tim Anderson's obviously a way higher valued, traditionally player than Benintendi, but those are 2 guys where when you up until a week ago, when you looked at either one of them, they had 0 home runs, and you were like, oh, 0, come on. Like you didn't even accidentally hit one out. Yeah,
I know, it's crazy. Yeah. It is crazy. I keep every time I think the White Sox are about to turn it around, I'm like, then they go, they go off, they go and get like lose a game where Lance Lynn strikes out 16 batters. I mean, they find a way to lose.
Do. Now I will say, going way back to where we were at the beginning on the Fangraphs page, they still have an 8% chance to make the playoffs because that division's so bad.
By the way, we did bench Tim Anderson this week, but he's day to day. So he was already hurt.
Easy call.
Yeah, easy call. But we started CJ Abrams over him. That's how desperate we are.
I think he might be an IL stint away from, like, if he had another IL stint with his current numbers, you might just say, forget it.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not even waiting around.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
All right. That's going to wrap up today's pod. We really appreciate everybody coming on board, especially late night for us, those of you on the East Coast. If you're in Hawaii, like I was, mahalo for joining us. And we thank everybody for tuning in. I got James Anderson tomorrow on the Prospect Pod. Thanks for tuning in. Take care.